Hey YouTube, this is Pete with the Crystal Casino Band. Welcome back to another Explain That Track video. If you're new here, every single that we've released in 2022, we've been dropping a little explainer video to go behind the track, to go into the songwriting process, and then how the whole band has made it and we produce it into the song that it is today. This song that we're going to be talking about is Antlers. We just released it maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I hope you guys are really liking it. It's a perfect song for the fall. And yeah, let's just dive right into it. So, basically, Antlers is about, in the fall of 2021, the band played a wedding for my buddy Dan. He asked us to perform, and we accepted. It was the very first time we ever played a wedding. It was a lot of fun. Jordan actually shaved his head right before it on accident.
I had just got a very dramatic haircut and didn't tell anybody in the band about it at that time. I got a buzz cut, and for some reason it was like the most startling thing to a lot of people, so Joey specifically.
We all showed up, you know, sort of wearing suits, looking for the most part pretty normal, and Jordan just had his skull exposed, his head was shaved, which, you know, at first was kind of alarming, but then we sort of realized, you know, how cool his head and skull are, which really are the origins of his moniker, Cool Skull. So, yeah, that was sort of the most important detail of the day.
So we were playing this wedding, and it was a lot of fun. We had to bring a lot of equipment, including speakers and all this other gear. So we got done playing the wedding, and we're packing up my car. I rented a Zip car because I live in the city and don't have a car. After we pack up the Zip car, I'm hitting the road, and I'm going down like a little country road before I get on the highway or so, coming back from south of like Alexandria, Virginia, going up back to where we live in Washington, D.C. And out of nowhere, a deer just goes running right in front of my car.
On the way back, you know, Pete sort of encountered a sort of a large animal, kind of a deer type situation.
And I halted the brakes so fast, and I kid you not, I was literally like, probably like the same distance that my phone camera is like to me right now, I was to the deer, and it was just staring at me just like that. It was a pretty nerve-wracking experience. I had all this gear in the back, and it was like sliding out to the front, like it didn't go through the window or anything, and I was really worried that it was going to, but it didn't, thank God. On the whole, kind of like to get my mind off it, on the car ride home, I was humming a little tune to myself. I was singing like, I don't want to see antlers and fear a disaster, and that's kind of where the origin of the first verse of the song came from. Probably took maybe about like 30 to 40 minutes or so to drive back from at that point, and I probably had I definitely had the whole first verse written at that point, which is really cool. So like the whole first verse is like definitely super historically accurate to my life and everything. Chorus kind of goes into how it is like a nerve-wracking experience, an experience where it's almost like your life flashes before your eyes. You realize like all the things that are really important to you. One of those things is that was really important to me that I wanted to write about was like how my girlfriend's really important to me. And like that experience really made me realize like how much I appreciate like our relationship, and that I never wanted to take it for granted. The second half of the song, I decided to kind of take it down a different road, and I really like the line like the officer, I'm sober, just driving 20 over, like a try hard to be cool from afar. That actually never happened. I never got pulled over or anything. Just thought it would be fun to add that into the song to embellish it a little bit. But it's some of my favorite lyrics I've ever written into a song. And I think this song is just so cool because, like, if you've listened to any of the other songs that we've done so far in 2022, they're all very straightforward, like rock songs. And this one is much more experimental. It includes a lot of instruments we've never used before. And it's partly because behind you, I got this keyboard now that I've been writing songs on. I remember I presented it to the band when we were like writing all of our songs for the upcoming album. They liked it, but they did not know what they could add to it. So they wanted to present like a very stripped down version.
Pete showed to us, and we really didn't have much to add really at first because it had just such a good vibe, and we wanted to see like what Kyle and Jay wanted to put onto it. We of course put a few little things, little flourishes and whatnot, but it has such a great structure and a great like story within it that we really couldn't do too much at first.
Jay came back with a great arrangement for it where it's like very, very mellow in the beginning and atmospheric, and then after the first chorus is when the drums and instrumentation kicks in, and then eventually there becomes an epic solo, and it's just like, I think it's one of the coolest songs we've really done, to be honest.
As far as the drums are concerned, when Jay sent us back the first demo, the drums were sort of a pretty straightforward, like, you know, riding on the floor tom and hitting the snare on the 2 and the 4, which, you know, it was cool and it worked, and we actually put that in the song. While I was in the studio, I just sort of had this idea for a little bit of a more syncopated feel, and I played it for Kyle, and Kyle liked it, but we weren't really sure which like drum rhythm to go with. It's basically just like the kick drum is like offset by a beat in the measure, and eventually after some deliberation, you know, we sort of decided to play both drum parts on top of each other, so literally like one take all the way through with Jay's drum part and one take all the way through with the drum part that I had written, and together, you know, it's a really cool effect. It's like there's multiple drummers in the studio, which obviously there wasn't. Just want to make that known, that I was the only drummer in the studio.
The bass, in theory, exists with the synth bass, which is played by Jay, and it's, I believe, the root, fifth, and the octave. And it's really simple. It's only even in the song just from halfway point to the end. Same with the drums as well, because we, again, didn't want to overdo it with this song. We wanted to keep it to its kind of ethereal vibes, and just not overdo it, I think. That's really what I'm going to keep saying here.
For my part, I didn't do too much. I just put a little atmospheric lap steel on it. I think we got a good product out of what we were able to accomplish with it. And in addition to that, it was cool to also have to do a live rendition of it because it was such a certain way with how it was recorded that we really couldn't translate it fully into the live version, so we had to create a live version, and I think that we did a really good job with that.
We were a little bit afraid. We did this first for our live sessions at Abacoda Studios, and we were kind of like, should we even play it live? Like, it doesn't really exist as a live song, but we were able to work and find a way where I'm looping my bass part, which is the synth part, as I mentioned, that Jay played, with an octave pedal and an envelope filter, and then that loops, and then I go over to my mini K-oscillator by Korg, no sponsored, and then just kind of play like that, like ethereal background music as kind of a filler to the end, and I thought it worked pretty well.
I do a lot of volume swells and a lot of delay usage and reverb. And I think we all really serve the song in a different way when we play it live, and we serve it, like, I think, really well.
It's different, definitely different. I don't think that studio version can ever be recreated in a live setting, but I think that's fine, and that's something that we want to keep in the studio, make it different live. So I'm gonna leave it there, but Antlers really reminds me of this time last year, fall. It was written right around the time we had played a wedding, which is what the song is about. Window down temperature, band that played the wedding. So when I listen to the song, I think of that time period.
Yeah, I think the song is just really, really cool because of how different it is and how many other instruments we added to it. And it's really sets it apart from all the other songs we did before. And I think it was a really good idea for us to add this as a single because as you guys will see in February when the album comes out, that a lot of other songs aren't like the straightforward rock songs that we've been presenting so far. So this is like a good segue to show that there are other songs like this on the album. You'll be able to hear a lot more of those when those come out. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
This video is brought to you by Old Spice. Old Spice, fuel the day.